So hello everybody and welcome back once again to my channel. I want to again thank everybody for making my most recent No Man's Sky video the second most watched video on my channel. I appreciate all of the love and attention that the community has given that video, and I waited way too long for a follow-up. I want to preface this video immediately by saying that this is not meant to be a derogatory video directed at the game or the developers or anything. As somebody who's been playing since pre-order, I love No Man's Sky. Why I should have to quantify that at this point, but there's always somebody who, oh, you're just hating on the game. So let's go on to the purpose of this video. Yesterday I wrapped up Expedition 3, and I've been sitting on the fence with settlements ever since. So there's a couple of things that I want to discuss as a long-time player. And it's in relevance to my previous video, because my previous hopes and thought concepts of video was kind of ticked in a few boxes, but it wasn't. And a good portion of it wasn't. And oddly enough, I found mods that kind of did that. So, this video has bullet points, and I'm going to go over them one by one because it's important. So, yesterday I wrapped up Expedition 3, the third expedition. And I'm going to say this. The third expedition was not fun. At all. Firstly, placing the expedition solely on a planet for about 60% of it created its own world of problems, be it the base radius limit, be it the limit on the number of exocraft terminals that could be placed on a planet, be it the notable problem with bugs tied to multiplayer. The whole point of expeditions was to do this as a community. You can't do that if multiplayer is causing your game to crash repeatedly. This is something that existed in the first expedition. This is something that existed in the second expedition. This is something that existed when they first introduced full multiplayer to the game. Why this is still a problem? I don't know. I'm not a game coder. I don't know the game engine that they work on very well. But I do know that after what amounts to almost a year of being exposed to this bug, should have been fixed. Especially since more and more of the game is being focused towards a multiplayer experience. Multiplayer should work. Now, I'm not going to crap on them. Multiplayer works most of the time. Outside of Expeditions, multiplayer has been working fine. Expeditions has had its own unique set of problems, and the third one was not void of them. The other problem that I had with the Expedition was the rewards. I'll be absolutely honest with you. The only reason I played the Expedition was for the Abysmal Horror pet. And that was it. Now, pets don't do anything spectacular or amazing or unique that you need to have them, but I wanted the Abysmal Horror pet. That being said, the other reward, the station chip, which I hypothesized was going to give us full control of a space station or access to a trade sim revolving settlements and stuff, turned out to be a no-starter. It doesn't do anything. It's a falsified station code. Now, this is probably because this is something that's going to be introduced later, and this was to introduce that functionality as a pre-start. So I'm not going to completely crap on it because they do this with other things. They've done this many a times with other things that ended up getting incorporated into the game, so I cannot completely crap on them for this. But why was it an expedition reward? Why? This was the third one, and it was tied to Twitch drops, and we're going to get that. I'm going to get to that too in a minute. So, in terms of the settlement update, this was by and far the buggiest update we've had. Be it settlements not working, be it crashes tied to settlements, be it settlements not recognizing collisions when placing down buildings, so portions of your settlement were floating up in the air, be it crashes, other functionalities of the game not working because of the patch. There were so many things that just were broken this patch. And I'm not going to crap on them because they've been really aggressive at addressing them. But at the same point, this was bad. This was bad because this was one of the settlements was one of the things that the community has been asking for since the game came out. And what we asked for isn't necessarily what we delivered. Now, I'm not going to crap on the settlements. The settlements are amazing in terms of what they did to create them. The procedural generation, the AI pathing, the fact that the environments themselves, interior, are procedural as well. So no two settlements look exactly the same. You're still crafting the same buildings, but they're different. This was a lot of work that went into this, and my argument is maybe it should have cooked a little longer, because you cannot by default decorate your settlements. You can plop down a base computer within a certain radius and decorate the entire thing once it's built, and that's another problem. But bar none, you can't just go in and decorate your settlement. It's just not possible. And that was not the way settlements were advertised to us. In the bullet points for the announcements of settlements, they said, decorate your settlements, place your buildings where you want. You cannot do that. Is that a bad thing? No. It was done for a reason. There was a reason behind doing this, because of AI pathing, because of lag tied to settlements and other things. And again, settlements are a bedrock for more to come. As we saw in the way they listened to feedback from the community and put market stalls with trade terminals and a teleporter inside settlements. So they are listening to us. I want to make this clear to people that are new to the game and were maybe frustrated with the way things have gone the last month in terms of expedition and settlements. They listen to their community. If you have bugs, if you have problems, don't go to random forums complaining to them. Go to the Zendesk and submit your bug reports. They react to our bug reports faster than most companies will ever do. So now I'm on to Twitch drops. And this series of Twitch drops was recycling Quicksilver items that you can earn in-game for Twitch drops seemed pretty pointless for those of us that have all of the Quicksilver items. The companions were okay, but again, companions don't really do anything. And the Day 5 ship, the Silver Fighter, really wasn't that spectacular. So what would my recommendation be? Because I'm not just going to crap on the idea. Twitch drops are great. Twitch drops bring in a very diverse viewing audience, and people who had never experienced the game before bought the game when I was streaming during Twitch drops, which is a good thing. A very good thing. The more people that play this game, the better. That being said, it was hard for me to get decided to do Twitch drops when nothing unique was really offered to me as a player. To new people who maybe do not know that the Quicksilver shop exists in game, or who are brand new, who were getting these top tier ships that made their starting experience a lot easier. Yeah, it was exciting, it was great, it was fun. But Twitch drops should also have something unique in them. That being said, I was kind of hoping that possibly the station ship would have been a Twitch drop. A Twitch drop that opened a unique functionality for people who spent 5 days watching No Man's Sky streamers, people from the community who play the game regularly, who wanted to stream it on Twitch. But that didn't happen, and that was kind of disappointing. And I'm hoping that they repurpose the functionality of Twitch drops and the functionality of expeditions, because expeditions functions like a new player experience, but we already have an in-game tutorial that lasts for 40 hours, includes a story. If you're going to introduce expeditions, maybe that's what expeditions should be, with narration. This could have been done differently, and I know we're still dealing with a small team with non-infinite resources, and we did have the pandemic affect every game studio on the planet, but you just had hoped that this was going to be utilized in a different purpose. All this was, for 3 expeditions, was a recycling of some of the glaringly worst game functions of the game. The Minotaur is awful. It is the worst exocraft. The fact that I had to use the Minotaur to scan for buildings, to traverse a radioactive world, was frustrating. I did not like it. So now we get to an issue that I had spoken to a number of Twitch streamers about, and maybe I was hyperbolic in my reaction to talking to them about. And that's how, as a game, after 5 years, No Man's Sky is suffering from a lack of identity. Now, I want to be clear. Of all of the sci-fi survival games that are out there right now, No Man's Sky is the only one that's feature complete. It's the only one that works. It's the only one that supports a large community of people working in an area without being inherently buggy and crashing and lagging. It is the only one right now that feels like a fully fleshed out functioning game. Now, the problem is No Man's Sky doesn't know what it wants to be. And the community, to some degree, doesn't know what they want No Man's Sky to be. It needs to be reiterated for the millionth time. No Man's Sky is not a realistic space sim. You don't have gravitational forces. You don't have atmospheric forces. You don't have rotation of planets. You don't have dark matter. You don't have all the things tied to science and space. It is a arcade-like sim. That being said, that doesn't account for the lack of cohesion between systems in the game and the fact that they keep introducing shortcuts. Now, I want to explain to this. The beginning of the game, the start of the game, was very rough. You had a tiny inventory. You were constantly farming resources to constantly replenish stuff. The pursuit for units and nanites was a abhorrent grind in the beginning. But you had something to aspire to. There was a chase. Getting a freighter, an S-class freighter, after 65 hours of gameplay and hunting for weeks felt rewarding. Now you get a freighter free after 5 jumps. Crafting recipes. Things like building components, like computer arrays, hydraulic arrays, things that were required crafting recipes for your upgrades, were not easily accessible just by going to the Nexus. You had to hunt down factory buildings, raid them, do the riddle inside of them, get a factory manufacturer override chip, do another one to then be able to have access to a recipe. This was a loot chase. Was it grindy? Yeah, but it encouraged you to explore. Paradise planets were not as readily available in the game. They were harder to find. You had to do system jumps and chase them down. Now you have the chance of finding one pretty much in every system you jump to. Same thing with ring planets. Ring planets should not be in every system that you jump to. And this is the problem now, because you get other things. The farming. Farming was tied to a cooking system. The cooking system is in depth, but it's pointless. You don't need to eat to survive in the game. You don't need to drink to survive in the game. Your pets, they don't serve a purpose. You can't sell the eggs. You can't use them to really harvest resources. There's no benefit to having them. They don't provide you a travel benefit. There's nothing to them. And this is the problem now. No Man's Sky wants to be a survival game, but it's not doing any of the things that make a survival game a survival game. There is no interconnectivity between the systems in the game that make them relevant. And there's no threat. Even a game like Icarus, made by Dean Hall, whose notoriety for DayZ goes without saying. Even in Icarus, there's a tech tree. There's threats in the world, not just from the fauna and flora, but from weather. Simple thing. All of that can be avoided in No Man's Sky. There is no threat at all in terms of anything that you do. Now, a lot of people don't want that. A lot of people just want the open world exploration, which is fine, but the survival mode is literally the same way as the base game. It's just a little harder. So has the simplification gone too far? I'd argue, yeah. Yeah. And I want to clarify the difference between oversimplification and lack of direction, because one of the glaring problems that I noticed in Expedition 3 with new players was Expedition 3 used systems that the new players had not been exposed to yet. They did not know to install the scanner in the Minotaur to search out for buildings. I didn't know because the scanner icon for the scanner to install on the Minotaur looks exactly like the item teleport icon for starships. And I, in most of my playthrough, never used the Minotaur before. So I sat there for hours, inside a Minotaur, traveling around the planet for the expedition, looking for a factory building to get the Herox recipe, which I didn't need because it was actually a reward for installing the scanner. Dude, I hope to God the developers are watching this, because this is this confluence of confusion that turns off a number of people to the game. People who have dropped out of Star Citizen, who have dropped out of Elite Dangerous, who are looking for that next space game. They come here, and yes, their expectations maybe are a little too high, but what's in the game should make a little more sense. Should be more cohesive, should work with simple logic. And right now, everything's just simplified and disconnected, and it can be very frustrating, especially when you're trying to teach new people. One of the things I like to do a lot is introduce people to the rudimentary parts of the game and say, go, explore, learn, do what you want to do in the game. Because not everybody likes to do settlements. Not everybody likes to build on a planet. We all have our own ideas. But that's the glory of No Man's Sky, is it's an open world that doesn't put you on rails. Expeditions wasn't fun for me because Expedition puts you on rails. And while that's a system in many MMOs that appeals to a broad sense of people, I'd argue the people that play No Man's Sky are not playing No Man's Sky for that experience. Now again, this is not me being negative about the game. What I see in terms of the future with settlements is bright. There's so much that settlements could be incorporated into, be it tower defense idea for the settlements, for station rating between players, tying it to a trading sim tied to space stations. There's so much that could possibly be done with this in the future that I'm not going to shit on its introduction. The introduction was flawed. It happens. I want it to be better. And one of those things, and I want to be very clear to Sean Murray, since you didn't listen to us last time, time gating content, brand new content, is not good in any way. For the love of God, did you not listen to us when we did that week-long, literally a week-long mission to get a living ship? And then you go and you time gate settlements. So much so that on the second day, I downloaded a mod to skip the time gate. Time gating content is not fun. That's what mobile game developers do, not AAA studios, not even indie studios. That's a mobile game function and system. Do not ever do this again. For the love of God, do not time gate brand new content in No Man's Sky ever again. I beg and plead you. I'll give you my firstborn child as sacrifice if you never, ever time gate content in the game again. That being said, I love you, Sean Murray, and thank you. So, on the bottom of my bullet point, again, I have the station ship purpose. And again, I'm going to say this. If the functionality for the station ship was not going to be active at the end of the expedition, it should have waited. It was an expedition reward, giving you the concept that it was going to have purpose and a functionality that you were rewarded for doing the expedition to do, and it was not delivered. So this is another thing, please don't do. And I want to be clear. As a community, we would have been happier, much happier, if you told us that the settlement update and expeditions were going to be delayed to incorporate more functionality and a smoother onloading for players. I would not have cared if this got delayed to 2 weeks before New World. I would not have cared. I wouldn't have even cared if it overlapped New World at this point, because I would have probably wanted a break from doing 24-hour grinds of New World on my vacation to do something in No Man's Sky. I would not have cared. And I know there's the logistics going on in terms of game releases and so much stuff being shoved off to, January and February of 2022 that's going to have implications for everybody. But we won't be mad at delays if delays guarantee us a better playing experience. And no gamer should ever chide developers for delaying something if it means that you're going to get a more complete and functional experience. I reiterate this over and over when people jump into my streams or comment on my videos about games being broken, or that games are broken because developers feel like they have to rush to deliver a product. Be it to answer to financial investors or a gaming community that cannot understand that there are human beings behind game development that need time to rest, that need time to recover, that need time to reconsider decisions they are making on game development. They're people. They're living and breathing people. They're not AI. And going forward, I don't want the community to keep hammering this idea that they know better all the time than game devs. Yes, some of us are game devs. Some of us do understand game coding, and some of us do have ideas. Ideas are the foundation of game development. They don't make a game. And many a times you can have an idea that through the course of development turns out to be not that fun. Turns out to be harder to implement than you really thought. Just be honest. Deliver us a better experience for what I assume will be a 4th expedition and 4.0, whatever it is. At this point, 4.0 could just be ship painting. At this point, I don't care. I just want the experience to be more cohesive, less bug-ridden, and for the love of God, not time-gated. So I'm going to wrap this video up. I want to again thank everybody who watched my Twitch streams for Expedition 3. I will be streaming off and on for the next week leading up to New World to finally figure out whether or not I'm going to do a settlement or set up my home planet and my base. I will take a break from No Man's Sky from 1 week, from September 28th till, is that October 2nd? To play New World. And if you want to play New World is a buy-to-play MMO. I'm interested in forming a guild with people to play the game. Now, I'm not a huge PvPer. I'm more of a PvE type person. Mostly because my time is limited, because I do work nights, so I would be playing specifically on my day off and doing harvesting and crafting during the day before I go to bed. So if you're interested in playing New World at some point, my gamer tag on Twitch, on Steam is So Say We All. My gamer tag on Twitch is So Say We All. If you're interested in possibly grouping up to form a guild and have fun, because New World is fun. I don't feel competitive playing New World. I love the world of New World. I love the crafting. I love the exploration. And I love the fact that it encourages community inner working with people. I love that. That's what games should do. So once again, thank you so much for watching. Don't hate on this video as much as I'm sure you're going to want to. Stop and listen and think about it for a few minutes. And thank you again for making my No Man's Sky content the second most watched content on my channel.